For much of his career, Craig Melvin has sat at the anchor desk of Today, speaking into a camera that millions trust each morning. Yet over time, he has come to understand that the most powerful storytelling in NBC News often begins not with the anchor's voice, but with the steady, watchful eyes of the photojournalists standing just beyond the frame. Men and women who carry heavy equipment into hurricanes, conflict zones, hospital corridors, and candlelit vigils, quietly composing images that will define how history is remembered. As he has grown older, now speaking to viewers in their 60s who have watched the world change through decades of televised moments, from moon landings to wars to national tragedies, Craig finds himself reflecting on what it must mean to process trauma while framing it, to focus a lens on chaos while keeping one's own emotions steady enough to capture clarity. He has spoken with camera operators who returned from assignments overseas with footage that would move the nation, yet who carried home memories they rarely discussed, snapshots etched into their minds long after the edited segments aired. At home, in conversations with his wife, Lindsay Zarniak, he sometimes wonders aloud how those behind the lens manage the quiet accumulation of sorrow. Because Lindsay, having spent years on sidelines where triumph and heartbreak collide in a single play, understands that proximity to intense emotion leaves a mark even when the job requires composure. Together, they recognize that while anchors deliver the narrative, it is the photojournalists who must stand closest to the human consequences, adjusting focus while sirens wail, steadying a shot while families weep, instinctively knowing that the image they capture may become the photograph people remember decades later. For viewers who came of age in a time when a single photograph could define an era and linger in collective memory, there is a deep appreciation for the craft and courage required to document history in real time, and Craig feels that appreciation keenly, especially as news cycles accelerate and images flash past with dizzying speed. He believes that those in their early retirement years understand something younger audiences may not fully grasp, that behind every iconic frame is a person absorbing the scene firsthand, absorbing not only light and shadow, but also fear, grief, and resilience. Over the years, Craig has learned that trauma does not always announce itself dramatically, but often settles quietly, surfacing later in small ways. A restless night, an unexpected flash of memory, a heightened vigilance in crowded places. He has heard photojournalists describe how they compartmentalize in the field, narrowing their focus to aperture settings and composition as a way to function amid upheaval, only to feel the emotional weight descend once they are home, the silence amplifying what adrenaline had temporarily muted. Lindsay has observed similar patterns in sports coverage after devastating injuries or moments of national significance, when the job demands professionalism, yet the heart lags behind, still processing what the eyes have witnessed. In their shared reflections, Craig and Lindsay often return to the idea that framing global history is both an honor and a burden, because to document is to affirm that a moment matters, yet it also requires stepping close enough to suffering that detachment becomes difficult. For an audience that has spent decades watching history unfold from living rooms, Vietnam, civil rights marches, natural disasters, acts of terror, the recognition that someone had to stand there, camera raised, can stir a quiet gratitude mixed with concern for the unseen emotional cost. Craig has come to see that the resilience of photojournalists lies not in invulnerability, but in their commitment to purpose, in the belief that bearing witness can foster understanding, that an honest image can bridge distances between strangers. He admires the discipline it takes to frame a shot with respect, to avoid sensationalism while still conveying truth, to remember that the people in front of the lens are not symbols, but human beings in vulnerable moments. As he moves through this later chapter of his own career, he feels a kinship with those behind the camera, recognizing that longevity in journalism requires tending to one's inner life as carefully as one tends to equipment, seeking support, cultivating perspective, allowing space for reflection. He knows that many viewers in their 60s are also reckoning with accumulated memories, personal losses, national upheavals, milestones both joyous and painful, and that they understand how experiences layer upon one another over time. In honoring the quiet endurance of NBC's photojournalists, Craig is also honoring that shared endurance, the way ordinary people have navigated decades of change while holding fast to empathy. And so, when he looks directly into the camera each morning, aware of the countless lenses that have captured the images he is about to introduce, he carries a renewed respect for the unseen colleagues who frame history from the inside, trusting that even in a world saturated with pictures, there remains profound value in images shaped by courage and care, and in the steady, compassionate hearts of those who choose to stand behind the lens so the rest of us might see more clearly.